I could feel an energy last night unlike anything else in television, in production, ever, which must mean WrestleMania and the end of WWE BJJ week, sadly. We all wish it was year-round, has come, and once again proving fighting way easier outside the cage. Go over to the WrestleMania ring. It is a lot easier. That means it's time for Verbal Tap. I am your host, Kevin. With me, of course, Raph Esparza. Raph, how are you doing?
Kev, my childhood is dead.
Oh, we're just jumping straight to fifth gear. WrestleMania did something to your childhood?
Yeah.
What happened? Talk us through it. I did. Obviously, you were watching. You also are doing a No Holds Barred podcast about WrestleMania, where if you want to hear more, click on over where you can hear Raph talking to Mike what I do in jiu-jitsu-ings, and you're going to enjoy yourself. We're going to give you a little taste here and now, and we're going to start with Raph's childhood. What happened?
No, this isn't the right taste. It's a podcast called Heel Section. It's very funny. You'll see the podcast probably go out by the time this comes out. That's not important. What's important, guys, is my childhood is dead. And why is it dead, Kevin?
Why?
The Undertaker retired.
No. Well, hold on again.
No, he never retired once. He's been going consistently. That WrestleMania is his thing. Like, he had become a part-timer where he was just like, I will come back for WrestleMania. And you just go, all right, dude, whatever.
How did he retire? I didn't see any crying kids. What the fuck? Where's the
because
pictures?
Everybody kept the crying on the inside.
Everybody, after last time, everyone locked it up. Everyone was like, I'm not going to be a part of that meme.
He lost already before. So people were, that's not like a huge thing. He lost to Brock Lesnar. And that was a few years ago. So he's been doing these other matches. And you would think, like, if he loses, maybe he should just be done, because that used to be his whole thing. The streak must live. And then the streak died. And then for whatever reason, he wanted to rebound and show he was still good. So he did like 3 more matches, none of which we needed. Last year, it was like you were super old watching him. And you just go like, no, dude, we're good. We don't need any more. But The Undertaker, he's so committed. This might be the best character in all of pro wrestling. Why is he the best character? Because think about it. If you were to create a dead man character now, most people would go, really? His name is The Undertaker, and he works in what? A funeral parlor, and he wears a weird trench coat and a like Liu Kang hat for like Western-y kind of vibe, and he was at one point an American badass biker dude who wears a bandana. Like, none of this computes or makes sense. But The Undertaker was always so committed to character. He never really broke. He always told a story, and he had a very, like, when I say Western, he basically was like a Western movie. He's like the movie Unforgiven, where everybody has to get their due. Fantastic. And it was a very good approach to a character. So much so that he felt very, very serious that he needed to go out on his shield. So he needed to lose in his last match. And people didn't know for sure this would be his last match, but they were... How did they signal it was his last match, Kev? Well, 1, he lost, so he kind of got his wish there.
Sure.
And 2, at the very end of it, like, for whatever reason, they cut to a highlight package when you think, like, oh, maybe they're just going to do the end here. No. Why are they waiting so long? Because he put back on his trench coat and his hat, and what he did was, much like they do in wrestling or in MMA, he took off his gloves, and he put them on the mat. Then he took off his trench coat. Then he took off his hat. And when he put them all on the ground, it was basically him shedding the character of The Undertaker in front of everybody. A lot of layers there, Kevin.
Wow. That is, I guess. And there were no tears? I'm about to start crying as you describe it. First of all, you sound hurt. Are you okay?
I'm fine. And let me go ahead and bring this up to you people. My childhood isn't actually dead. I just want to bring this up because a lot of people are saying that their childhood is dead because The Undertaker is no longer wrestling. No, your childhood was just fine. You got to live in an era where The Undertaker was something you got to watch and experience. You saw him in a Hell in a Cell. You saw him throw off mankind off of high-flying shit. You saw him put Stone Cold Steve Austin on a cross and raise it into the air. You saw him face every major person, have a streak for 21 years. Do you not remember any of these things, Kevin?
I guess I might have tuned out during the years where they put him on a cross and raised him up.
There was the evil, the Dark Undertaker, if you would, which is kind of an interesting conundrum to himself. Yeah, if you look up he basically crucifixed, and not the jiu-jitsu crucifix, but he did crucifix Stone Cold Steve Austin. They don't really talk about a whole bunch because that was the super attitude era of the WWE, or at the time, the WWF, I believe. So anyway, Kevin, for all these reasons and more, it's sad, sure. But you know what's even sadder? Watching someone who looks hurt when they're wrestling continue to wrestle. It's like watching a fighter who doesn't know that they need to stop, and trying to tell them, like, maybe you shouldn't do this anymore. With The Undertaker, he got to a point where they basically created an assist. You know when they like punch the guy on like the corner rope and they do like the count and the guy's like up against the ring post and they are counting away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this picture is terrifying.
Please describe what you just saw now.
Oh, first of all, it says The Undertaker crucifies Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then it's every bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin, mostly naked, bearing a much more muscular resemblance to Christ.
Sure, if you want to call it that. I mean, definitely a more attitude era version of Christ.
It looks like he's being put to like a double-sided hatchet. It's very. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of metal involved here.
Kevin, was a different time. The 90s were a weird time for everybody.
I believe this was 2012, but I'm with you.
On that photo that they're showing there?
I don't know. I'm just that was me joking around. I don't know when it was.
All right. So don't joke about The Undertaker. He retired and it's serious.
He was crucified once. It's very serious.
He was crucified once, everybody, guys. Very serious. So as we look through all of these things, yes, it does suck that a person there. But anyway, so when he got assisted over the side and he's getting punched, it's basically a way to cheat so that he can do a powerbomb. Now, Kevin, you've learned how to do a powerbomb this week, and you struggled with it in some ways.
Yeah.
And what did you learn about doing a powerbomb?
A lot of upper body strength, and it does help if you really whip them down, as opposed to just like dropping them.
Sure. And proper technique. It's all like you want to make sure you're not hurting your back. So just imagine if you had gotten Will all the way up and then you wanted to raise him, because what the Undertaker would do is kind of pick where the pockets are in like the pants and he would lift them up and then drop them down. Okay?
Okay.
This one, so the Undertaker gets the assist. The person's up there. He gets the underneath, like kind of like an underpass kind of a thing. But he picks him up. So he's already done the heavy lifting by already just being underneath him. And then when he goes to lift him up, nope. Oh, no, he's not going to lift him. Uh-oh. That's not good. And the Undertaker's like trying and struggling, and then he just kind of like just tosses Roman Reigns on his head, which, by the way, Roman Reigns is not a beloved character in the WWE. He gets booed for everything. I have told you this before, but he got booed the previous years. So you can imagine how people felt about him retiring the Undertaker. And Kev, I definitely want to save a lot of the A material for you guys going to listen to heel section, but I'll tell you this. They had a ginormous ramp that allowed people to go from like the top of the stadium and walk their way to the ring on the floor. Okay?
I would imagine that's helpful for some of their more aged fighters.
Well, then you would understand. You've seen The Undertaker walk out. That doesn't happen very quickly.
No.
And he makes a slow saunter all the way there. So I kept thinking, like, don't do that to him. Don't make him walk all the way. So what they did was they cheated him halfway, and he got to rise on a platform. And it was immaculate. It looked great. It was very theatrical, super dark. Everybody's just fucking feeling it. Well, when The Undertaker leaves, Kevin, so this is after he put his trench coat down, his hat, his gloves, and he finally breaks character and goes to like kiss his wife off screen and acknowledge her.
They got him an electric scooter.
No, they didn't get an electric scooter, but however, that would have been great.
That would have been awesome.
But when he made his way to the halfway point of where the stadium ends, he gets up, he looks back dramatically, he puts his fist in the air, and then they Terminator 2'd him, Kevin.
No way.
They like lowered him back down with the same little lever that they did to prop him up. So his fist was raised the entire time as he went down. And I think that was the moment where if people weren't doing it, it was like, I'm not crying, you're crying, you shut up.
You're crying.
No, it's bad. But for me, it was a giant sense of relief because I'm like, thank God. He gave us a few more WrestleManias than we deserved. He did this character from 1990, Kevin. I mean, that's 27 years of doing this. It takes a toll on a body because, spoiler, it's not supernatural, guys. So I'm glad for him.
Plus, he's huge. So 27 years, not like he's 5'10" and a yoga fanatic. I mean, he's a big dude. So
yeah, and as you mentioned, like, look at basketball players, Kev.
Yeah.
The tallness is their key to like being great at the sport, but then once they get like
shortens
super
the career.
old,
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that side. Brock Lesnar beat Bill Goldberg, who I know is one of your favorites.
Awesome. Fuck Brock Lesnar for even touching the Goldberg, who was very popular the 2 years I was watching.
Absolutely. Then let's see some other stuff. Shane McMahon was credited as doing some jiu-jitsu, and I would say
Raph, one of the more fervent would be willing to go out on a limb for this person is like, I don't know.
Kev, I want to tell you this. This is amazing. So the guy he was facing was named AJ Styles. So AJ jumps on the ropes, bounces off, and the idea is he's going to kind of do like this forearm splash, but he's supposed to get this great like air time. So AJ hits the mark perfectly, and what it's supposed to go into is a triangle. Like he goes straight into Shane's guard and jumps straight into it, and Shane's supposed to lock up the triangle. AJ hit his mark perfectly, and Shane didn't hit the triangle perfectly. Like he had to like struggle to get it. And I go, guys, that's a WWE BJJ move if I've seen one. That was amazing. But it didn't hit. So there was that. Other small little highlights just to let you guys know. Stephanie McMahon is still the shit. Triple H basically made his way to the ring in a terrible entrance with what looked like a motorcycle, but really looked like a kid riding a Power Wheel. Chris Jericho is the fucking man. He put over Kevin Owens in a great match. Randy Orton faced Bray Wyatt in a match where they used the mat as kind of a PowerPoint presentation. And because Bray Wyatt kind of is like The Undertaker with supernatural abilities and likes to play psychology games with people, they put like pictures of snakes and earthworms in there, and it just was really terrible. It looked god awful. It looked like they got at one point when Randy Orton was walking his way down. I wish it looked that good though, Kev. When Randy Orton was walking his way there, they call him the Viper. So they had like a snake sauntering there, and it looked like the terrible CGI snake from Snakes on a Plane, and it was god awful. So there was a lot of that sort of stuff, and as a whole, like, wasn't that bad. It was kind of fun to watch it. I always enjoy watching these. The high production value that they put into this is replicated by the UFC, no questions asked. And if I'm being so honest, it'd be nice to see jiu-jitsu get a little bit of love like this one day. One day I will make that happen.
As soon as they do the Royal Rumble jiu-jitsu style, we're going to be set to go.
I think we're going to get there. Oh, and another thing, Kevin, do you remember the Hardy Boys?
You mean the detectives, or
no,
some wrestlers
right after your era? Yes, there are two wrestlers, super popular,
obviously.
Yes, but they returned yesterday. So if you guys haven't seen that or heard it, their return back to the ring was fantastic, and they participated in a ladder match, Kevin. So there's that. Anyway, let's discuss now what was happening, because obviously you guys can hear the rest of my thoughts and my buddy Mike's thoughts on this year's WrestleMania on the other show. But let's talk about the real thing that affected us here on the podcast for an entire week, Kev.
We have been, this is an effort that I think is probably going to earn us an MMA award, I think, before anything else will. You have been on this for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
WWE BJJ Week. Your theory being there are enough WWE nerds that now do BJJ. Turns out you were right. Would you like to talk about the success of your efforts?
Pretty good. Right now we are standing at about, I think, 70,000 people who ingested our 20 videos. So to you guys who tuned in and watched those and shared those or made them, thank you so much. We're going to go down the line and just say a few thank yous, because it's not just me that puts these together. Granted, I kind of come up with some of the moves, and it's really cool.
Here and there, I think people notice.
I do, man. Well, no, it's all their technique. What are you talking about? No, I engineer with some of the people who submit these things. Some of the moves I come up with them, and I try to match up what I think people are good at with what I think would be really entertaining. The only thing is that if you are trying to submit a sharpshooter entry, it's kind of mine. So it better be really good. And Kev, what was this year's sharpshooter entry?
It was a very beautiful deep half setup. You deep halved into a transition that is getting better.
Well, it's always been great, so it doesn't have to be any better. Really.
Obviously, it's getting better, but I guess it's getting a little bit more. Hey, hey, where did that one come from?
As Kevin can attest, as somebody who's been put in a sharpshooter a number of times, the move is effective? ?
Very, yeah.
Okay. And where is the pain in that move?
Either lower back or upper knee. Kind of depends on where the pressure comes, but the lower back will really start to get you.
Yeah. So as you see here, it's a spine lock, and I tell people, don't try this at home. But if you do, be nice to your training partners, friends. I only beat up Kevin because he's Kevin, and I think you understand I have good reason to do that. But let's talk about some of the other moves. What were some of your favorites, Kevin?
I loved Brandon McCatherin's emotional and daring performance. As I saw, it was just a lot of levels. That guy, we need to get him in some community theater. Really enjoyed the trifecta of you and Joey. I thought that was a fun. I'm excited to see if you two continue your feud into next year. But I enjoyed the belts coming. Vernon Kirk brought it this year. Throwing a nice, going high in his elevations.
So what Vernon Kirk did, just for you guys who want to know, and Brandon McCatherin did a $1 Million Dream. It needs a little work, if I'm being honest, but the performance was great. He went full heel, and I think that's an important thing to note because we all know how lovable, quote unquote, Brandon McCatherin is, but to see him go full heel is an experience. So there, you start off there, then all of a sudden you see Kevin referring to, of course, one of the ones submitted by Vernon Kirk, who did a Goldberg move, which is the jackhammer, raises what appears to be a young child in the air,
it looks
and then
like
drops them down.
That's definitely it's a big adult human.
Yes. Raises them into the air and then drops them down with the Goldberg jackhammer suplex, but then doesn't finish there with a pin, decides to opt for a Americana. So that was a good one too. I have to give a huge shout out to one Nico Radic who did a Ric Flair figure 4. And that entry is so legit. I know he has pulled it off on people, and I need you guys to study that and share it because I feel that's going to be a real thing.
And Thor, of course, appears to be more than ready for this. Does a nice, a good battle exchange, and then tries to Imanari roll and ends up tapping. It's good stuff.
It looked like he was getting put into a sharpshooter, not my sharpshooter, but
there.
like an okay one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then our good friend Mike Flatch did a entry, and he did 2 this year. So he did a Darce KO, which I was very proud of. But he also did one to the Olympic hero Kurt Angle, who was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, who is an Olympic hero, has a slam referred to as the Angle Slam, and hit it into a crash pad very nicely. Gets a pin and then maybe a little bit of a turn on that one. But I do want to go ahead and get Kevin to talk about what his experience was putting together his own powerbomb.
Yeah. Well, this year, Raph, it was time to get in the game. Throw some gym in. So I had an idea not too recently. Someone was trying to double leg me. And I was like, it's illegal. But how amazing would it be to just take this person and flip them over and slam them? So we put a little video together over at Jubera. I had accomplices because I talked through it with a few people. We marked it out, and we did it after a little open mat. 2 hours of open mat.
What was their reaction when you pitched the move to them?
Fortunately, several of them had been following your bullshit the entire week. Otherwise, I think it would have been a harder sell. But there was definitely at least 3 people that were just like, what are you guys working on? We're like, this isn't real technique. Ignore us right now.
First of all, how dare you?
Please do not powerbomb anyone. It sinks in for a double leg. And I had a lot of fun. I'm ready to challenge for it next year and step up my game.
Yeah, we will definitely need to make some improvements on that. But, it shows what's the opposite of promise?
It's progress. Had some help from Will Forbes.
Will did a lot of that work. So if we're being honest, thank you very much, Will. You made that look very nice, almost too nice, one might say. But let's do this. Let's go on over to our good friends at the Jiu-Jitsu After Dark podcast. If you guys haven't heard their latest one, they had a very nice discussion on how it actually came to be. At one point, I believe it's Chris who brings up on their show. He was like, well, Raph, is obsessed with putting these together. And I was like, there's no real obsession with it. It's where my brain goes when you do jiu-jitsu. And then it became, well, prove me right, everybody. Can you do these moves? And I love how creative they get. They get more and more creative every year. So to see the more legit transitions, it becomes all the more encouraging. But to their credit, man, they talked about it, and they really did say, they're like, no, a lot of people are into this. They seem to have a lot of fun. So we obviously want to say a thank you to them for cutting out a video as well. My thanks to everybody at the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club, because holy shit, the moves that they helped me do this year were amazing. Joey House in particular was a good sport. Our good friend Drew Murillo was always very, very encouraging. Eric, always very funny, enjoying the Darce as well. But I also want to shout out the Systems Training Center guys. Kev, can you talk us through that technique as well?
Let me scroll down. What did the Systems... I remember the Systems video. I don't remember the exact technique.
They did the omoplata.
Yeah, so I want to compliment out the fact that there's been a lot of really good jiu-jitsu in this year's. And the Systems guys, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to scroll to the video. I don't remember. How the fuck am I supposed to describe with just that, by the way?
It's okay. It happens.
Like, I don't know the moves.
Go ahead and take the lead.
I don't know the moves when I'm watching them, let alone
that
when they come. You can keep asking me. I'm close.
That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and shout out also our good friends Chase and Damien for doing their kind of recreation, I say, quote unquote, of the Leandro low hold, a.k.a. the ankle lock, also paying tribute to the Olympic hero. We also had a arm drag from our friends Gilbert and Juan Bernardo. And I also had to send a big shout out to our good friends over at the House of Gyms. They have a tournament going on, by the way, this April 8th, Saturday over in Orange County. It's $40, guys, for the guys and $30 for women. They have extended their pre-sale, so get in on that if you're looking for a competition out in Orange County. But I taught him my legitimate breakdown into the crossface crippler from Turtle. And I will tell you guys, I have hit many people with that. And people always hate the fact that I get that move. But I am nice enough not to crank, unless they're Kevin.
Well, okay, I'm staring at the Systems one. There's also some good punching sound effects. What is the move on that? Is that the crippler crossface with a...
That's what you would want to think. It is actually referred to as the yes lock, which is a variation of the omoplata.
Nice.
And that Daniel Bryan used to do that as his finisher, and it was always a lot of fun. I also want to thank the guys over at King's Combat Center. The guys who helped me with that one were so funny, and I it's one of my favorite ones because there's a music drop that happens in there with a foreign object. 'Cause somebody asked me, like, did you use a foreign object in one of these? And I was like, oh, we did. So
you hit people with a chair. It was brilliant.
It was one of my favorite things to do because I like who hits people with chairs. And a big shout out over as well to our good friends. Hold on, this last couple ones are coming in. Kevin's mine was obviously amazing, but Mike Acosta, who helped us with what's referred to as a crossface chicken wing in the gi. And
this is also the part I like about this is how people are like, oh, how do you get people to do it? It's like, no, they're into it. That's why they're sending ref the videos. They're all about it. That's what's great.
Yeah, it's not hard to convince people to do these things more and more now, because now the worst part is there are some prominent athletes who want to participate, but they feel their WWE BJJ isn't good enough.
That's understandable.
Or they get a little nervous. And I understand that, guys, but that's what I'm here for. But I also want to send one more shout out, and perhaps the biggest shout out, to our friend Sam Cresson. So Sam is a wonderful artist. He's also a great catch wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Just amazing dude. And I asked him to submit one, and he crushed it. He did a break from guard, which is a Cesaro swing. So you lift the person up out of guard, you swing them around, and then you turn it into the Boston Crab. And I know enough about his style of rolling that he actually does that to the people he helps train with, or the people who are his training partners. Like he's rough, man. He's a legit catch wrestler. Like he's got some good wrestling to him. But he did something a little extra that I didn't expect. So if you guys happen to see the graphic that was at the very end, the animated picture, what I later found was myself putting one person in a sharpshooter while also putting another person in a single leg Boston Crab.
It is well done.
He made an animated closure for it. So I cannot thank him enough. I did not ask him to do that.
It really is great work.
Way better than what we deserve. And, we always try to acknowledge the people who do nice things for us, but that was an especially nice gesture. And I asked him, I was like, dude, I can't believe you did that. He's just like, dude, I love what you guys do. I think it's cool. And I hope you use it. I hope you like it. And I was like, really is too small of a word. So I just want to make sure that you guys go follow him. I mean, he has World's Deadliest, which is his form of artwork. He does a whole bunch of really great, cool things. He also has like a pro wrestling comic book. So go look up all those things. Go tell him thank you. We're going to post up his picture, I think, a little bit later this week. But feel free to share it. I just think it's one of the raddest things I've seen. And it is a true recognition of where this little movement that we've done has come from. Because to me and Kevin a few years ago, it was just me putting Kevin in a sharpshooter in a video or in a photo and saying, Kev, I think people like this. And Kev going, you really sure? And I go, maybe. Oh, I'm positive. So you guys have not only proven me right, but you now are entertaining the both of us. Because when we get these videos sent in, we're sharing them with each other and we're just laughing the entire time. And really, isn't that what this is all about? We take jiu-jitsu so seriously. So we're just happy to contribute something that makes you guys have fun for a change and just not approach the sport as silly as it is. Because here's the other thing. All those people who talk about us on the memes, whenever we put up a pro wrestling one with MMA, and are like, oh, you can't put those two things in the same sentence. I got news for you. You can. And in some ways, some of those moves you look at, I have a lot of people who said, I'm going to drill that move. And that makes me the happiest. Oh, and our good friend Drew Weatherhead also did an amazing one. I want to shout him out of Because Jitsu. Really funny Fujiwara armbar. And I'll let you guys know, white belts, look out for that one. It's a deadly one. So anyway, we wanted to conclude the WWE BJJ week with a nice, happy note. We look forward to already doing it next year, and we have a lot of people who say they want to get in on it. But to everybody who did contribute, and if I missed you, I'm very sorry. But please know all of your contributions were wonderfully appreciated over this week.
And with all that positivity now behind us, it's time to move to some over-under Kevin. For some good old-fashioned UFC 210, Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson.
Let's do it.
You're ready? You're ready to move past? I want to congratulate you. Another fantastic WWE BJJ week. Even as not someone who's a hater, maybe more so publicly, these videos are spectacular. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. I love the creativity.
The best compliment you can pay me, though, Kevin, is you going, hey, I think I'm going to make one this year. Oh, are you? And you go, and I even asked Kevin, I was like, what's the move you're doing? And he goes, I want to surprise you.
I want to throw it at you. It's the first year. I wanted to leave you a little suspense. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm sending one.
But you know that my biggest worry is I'm like, he's going to hurt himself or somebody. I care more about other people than you.
You were mildly nervous my knee was just going to straight pop halfway through the video, which I contend would have really added to especially if someone came in and hit me with a chair.
Because you hurt your knee and you said
down.
You liked power bombs. I can put the two things together, Kevin. So that's why I immediately was just like, Kev, what are you thinking?
I'm
what
ready.
Are you planning? And you're like, oh, I'm just going to do this move. No rush, ref. I got it. I'm like, he's going to do a fucking power bomb.
God damn it. Well, great work, not despite my best efforts. And I'm looking forward to it again next year. So let's get some UFC.
Absolutely. Kev, it's been an interesting time for your UFC picks. Every time that we come back and approach this, we get back to the drawing table.
Winning streak.
Are you in a winning streak? I'm not sure if you were.
I don't know if streak's the right word. I definitely won the last one. Let's just call it that. That's all I remember.
Who'd you beat on that last one?
You know, the competition's been so elevated. It was nice to take a break with TP Grant. So,
Well, beating TP Grant is pretty easy because he is an author from Chicago and out in the Illinois area.
Yeah.
So I thought, Kev, one of the things that we hate. What is one of the things that we hate on the show?
Just as a location?
Yeah, well, just as a thing. I mean,
Ohio.
Location. Okay, we hate Ohio.
Even when we were talking about Chicago, I feel like we were like, it's not Ohio.
Right. So I thought, why not continue that thread by bringing you somebody who's familiar with Ohio, lives in Ohio, is also an author. I'm not going to say better than TP Grant, but he uses his full name, unlike TP, which I'm just saying, not a real thing. Okay. But anyway, he is he's somebody you guys have seen. He writes a whole bunch of articles. You might have seen him in the Jiu-Jitsu Times. You might have seen him for Jiu-Jitsu Magazine, writing in there, Jiu-Jitsu Style, many other outlets as well. He's also an active competitor on the scene. He's also very active on talking shit if you get a thread going. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our podcast here, Emil Fischer. Emil, how are you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking, Ras.
I do ask this because I am fascinated. How many threads do you get involved with on a day? Just in terms of stirring a pot, because you do seem to enjoy doing that.
All of them, every last one.
Because there are some moments where, like, I go away, and if I go away to train for, like, you figure like an hour, I don't look at my phone. There have been some threads that I've seen you connected on that I was like, holy shit, there's like 100 messages on here. If you're on any Tom DeBlas post, let's just say that.
Yeah, I like messing with Todd Schaefer. Yeah.
Oh, Toddy's good people. I love the shit out of Toddy. You be nice to him.
Fantastic.
But I do notice that. Is there any approach to what you're going to include yourself in, or do you just get bored, or where does your process come from, sir?
Generally, it's I find a shithead that I want to bother, and I bother them, and I see where it goes. Or lately, what I've been doing is I like to join in on threads making fun of articles that I've written, and I like
that's
to stir the
fun.
pot there.
That's a nice sleeper. Good sleeper potential.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've wanted to have you on the show for a while, but this kind of comes together as a nice hybrid of things. We're going to get to talk
is
about.
the right word, Ref. I'm just Ohio.
Don't be rude to him yet, okay? We're going to get to the game, and when we get to the game, that's when you need to bring it. I wanted to say this because, Emil, I guess more than most other writers, you have a prankish nature that you like to do every year on April Fool's Day. Now, you don't know this, but this is what the, I guess, ripples of what you do cause. People come to me and they ask me if your articles are true on April 1st. Would you like to say the articles you have written on April 1st for this year and last year, please?
Well, this year, April 1st was Gordon Ryan has quit competition, no-gi competition jiu-jitsu, and has abandoned Kenzo Gracie team and is opening a certified Gracie training center. He's getting his combative belts. And last year was Eddie Bravo buys Metamoris.
Okay, you motherfucker, you need to listen here real quick.
You've cost Raph a lot of time and energy.
Emil, you motherfucker, you started this whole thing of putting out the Metamoris article, which then got regurgitated again for whatever reason, like 2 months ago. And when that happened, I looked down and I go, guys, this is probably putting the biggest smile on his face. Like, that's what you have to know.
It comes back now. Like, you still have, I've seen you at least, I mean, Twitter alone, like, you've Facebook corrected it many times, but Raph will routinely be like, it's not real. I know who wrote it. It's a very good joke. And people just struggle with it.
It's a true testament to how you wrote it. That people, if you read it, it's pretty clear, but it's funny how you wrote it. But I just love the fact that people are like, Raph, is that whole Metamoris thing true? My instructor asked me about that, and that one hurt a little bit.
Yeah, the first time I did it, my instructor sent me a text message saying, Emil, what are you doing? Well, you're hurting your credibility. We know this is not true. And I said, look at what date it is in the calendar.
That's fair. That's fair. That is a very easy way to go ahead and acknowledge that. Well, obviously you're writing stuff on there. I do want to talk about your super fights because you are an active competitor. I see you all the time on the Instagrams. You're basically putting up match highlights, and they're awesome, dude. I mean, I have to also give you some shit about this because you're too good for being a writer. You have to understand, when you're us and you write and you have a media personality, we're not supposed to be good at this.
Tolerable at best. That's the agreement.
Well, I figured that I honestly, I realized at a certain point that if I was writing and talking shit on the internet and I wasn't somewhat semi-proficient on the mat, that it was all just a facade. And I hate that. I hate it when people put on a front and pretend, and I hate people that like go to a tournament, enter a 2-man bracket, take second place, and go, "I won silver." It irked me. So I wanted to be the one that was able to say, "No, motherfucker, you took 2 out of 2-man bracket," and I wanted to be able to have the skills to back it up. So I try to train as much as I write.
Boring. All right. Fair enough. I'm just over it, and you're making the rest of us all look bad. So I don't need that in my life. But kudos to you for your training and your attribution to all of that. Kev, do you have questions here? Because you've never met Emil before, so this is a new human being. I know you're familiar with his work, but what are your thoughts going on right now? Because you're gonna have to take him on very shortly.
Well, he sounds confident, which bothers me just in general, because that's usually if I can smell some fear now when they're talking about themselves, that it's going to really correlate into the fight picking. I also took the liberty of watching one of his matches on YouTube while we were just doing that little back. So right now, chief concern is pretty creative with his heel hook attacks. Caught somebody with the opposite leg and then, went to the other one. Nice work. But I also can sense he's in my world now. This isn't print media. This isn't a media that died 27 years ago. It's not April Fool's. It's close. This is my day, and we're in podcasts now, right? Like Serial took over.
Wow. Emil, I'm waiting for your response on that one, sir.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, yes, today is April 3rd. Congratulations.
I'm just saying, Emil, here's the thing. What's signaling here to us is you need a keypad and a keyboard to be addressing Kevin. So I'm going to give you a second. Just don't worry about it. You're going to get your shit talking together. Kevin, what would you like to expect from his super fights? And when do you think that they are happening? And where do you think that they're happening?
Well, I know he's doing some Fight to Win Pro stuff. And I expect otherwise based off of what he was just talking about. Emil, you kind of sound like you'll fight in a shed if somebody asks you nicely or just sends you a letter.
Yes. I would fight my own mother in the kitchen if there was a medal involved.
Want to be super clear. If she's also trained in jiu-jitsu, I'd watch that match.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Nope.
I'd subscribe to that match's Twitter feed. How's that?
I love that. All right. Well, Emil, so you've got Fight to Win. Which number one is that one?
32, Cleveland, 32. Ohio.
Okay, great.
Ohio.
And do you know who you're facing out that way?
Does it matter?
I do. His name is Gary Hashman. Very tough, very, very tough purple belt. I've gone against him twice in the past at other tournaments, and he was a very tough opponent. I got my work cut out for me.
That's awesome. That's very good to hear. And then you've also got one going on with the Global Grappling League, and that is in New York. Tell us about that match as well.
I'm going up against Mike Mudicelli. He is a Bellator vet.
Ooh.
He is 6'5",
Jeez.
and is a BJJ brown belt.
Gross.
And how tall are you, and what is your weight?
I'm 6'1". I'm about 200, 205 pounds, depending on whether or not I've defecated yet in the day. And I'm a purple belt, just a purple belt.
You're not just a purple belt. You're quite good. But you're also an aficionado for donuts. Every time I see a photo of you repping out your sponsors, there's a picture of you eating a donut. And I'm like...
Well, Amy Joy Donuts Amy Joy Donuts out of Cleveland, Ohio, is the greatest donut company in the world, and they've been so kind as to sponsor me, and I can't help myself with their apple fritters.
That's genius.
But is that like, we need to talk about this?
It's fruit, right?
You're sponsored by a donut place because
Ohio.
I get it. And I think that's amazing.
It's actually been done before by other people. Like I know that
LeBron
the
James.
guy who's
I was waiting for it.
the guy who's involved in what's it called? That tournament down in Texas, the Jiu-Jitsu Kumite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you guys have heard of this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that guy either owns or is involved in something with donuts, and he is always posting about donuts. And Submission Series Pro, based up in Canada, is always sponsored by Donair, which is a Canadian donut company, so their donuts probably suck because they're Canadian.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh! Sorry to our Canadian audience over here. You got the guy from Ohio talking shit about you, and I just don't know if that computes.
London is waiting. That's our second largest market.
Where are you guys? Where are you guys from?
Listen, Kevin, why don't you take where you're born and raised from?
Born in Northern California, parents moved. Still something we talk about. When I was 2, to Kansas, raised me there.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas.
That's how I know.
You're from Ohio and you're from fucking Kansas?
Well, ask me where I am now.
Where are you now?
Not fucking Kansas. Left. Went to D.C. Now I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Maybe you could learn
Denver,
something
Colorado.
from that. I'm just saying.
Mile high.
Yeah.
The Mile High city.
As soon as I became an emancipated adult, I got the F out of Kansas.
Yeah,
so
you're from Kansas, though.
Yeah.
So
I'm
Kevin's
sorry,
from Kansas.
Hey,
I'm born and
You
raised.
have no room. You have no room to make fun of me for being from or living in Ohio.
Again, dude, he got out of there. He knew exactly what he was doing.
I've driven through
Unlike
Ohio.
you, you're
a lot.
like-
I got out of here and I came back. House prices are fantastic out here.
Oh, good for you, man. But you got to live in Ohio. It's a trade-off. I'm born and raised Los Angeles, lived out in Kentucky for a little while, lived out in Illinois for school, but came directly back to the Los Angeles area because Best Coast. So I'm just saying these things. I understand what it's like to be from a place that's actually cool, where a lot of good things happen. But listen, it's not about me and you. It's about you versus Kevin. Kevin, why don't we go ahead and play the game of Over Under Kevin? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our show. If this is your first time listening to us for this particular segment that we do on the show, it's called Over Under Kevin. The rules are pretty simple here, people. What we do is we like to preview every UFC pay-per-view by bringing on a guest to take on Kevin's UFC's picks. So when that happens, we give each contestant 15 seconds to say who they think is going to win in every match. We like to go ahead and see if Kevin can beat the layman,
almost
if he
every
can beat the expert. No, statistically, it's not really a good winning percentage. But
2017 and statistics don't matter. You know that.
Oh, God.
Facts it's an alternative statistic.
Feelings are facts. I know that. I know that now. But hey, the way it works, if I so feel like giving them rebuttal time, they have 15 seconds to go ahead and insult one another or insult each other's picks. At the very end, the basic winner will be selected by whoever gets the most correct out of the 12 or so fights that we have here. Gentlemen, do you both understand the rules? Kevin?
I understand, and I plan to thrive in my disregard of them.
Absolutely not. And Emil, do you understand and compute what these rules are?
Indeed, I do.
All right. This is great. Gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start off in the featherweight category.
We rarely get this far. We have to stop, go back over the rules. We're growing. Everybody's growing.
It's a fairly simple game, but let's go ahead and go with this. All right. It is a featherweight match between Miles Jury versus Mike De La Torre. Kevin, I'm putting 15 seconds on the clock for you to go.
Anytime I approach a fight, I think to myself one question. Which of these names would be a better character in the next Fast and the Furious movie? That's easy. Mike De La Torre is my pick. El Susi.
All right. I'm not sure that actually makes sense for that one because the other name's pretty good too. Emil, what do you got for us? 15 on the clock.
You got Miles Jury. The guy's a black belt in BJJ versus Mike Dellatore, a blue belt. Good pick, Kevin. Good job, buddy. Miles Jury takes this.
Miles Jury for you. Okay. Now, Emil, I have to ask this. Kevin was saying that Dellatore sounds more like he would be. I'm sorry, Kevin, did you say Dellatore for your pick?
Yeah, Fast and the Furious. Next character.
Yeah, you're saying that he has the more Fast and the Furious-like name?
Yes.
Against somebody named Miles Jury? Miles Jury sounds like a fake name that like Vin Diesel created and goes, I'm going to race against a guy named Miles Jury. This is going to be great.
Mike Dellatore sounds like Torres, which is their last name. That's as simple as Vin does it. You're giving him way too much credit.
Listen, no, Vin he's layered. He's got class to him.
Watch the new Triple X movie and say that sentence again to me. You have to watch the new one, and then you can say that's it. He's layered.
Watch the first one.
That would have been 15 years ago, right? The old one was out in like 2002, give or take.
Yes.
I think that was enough, though. I think that was enough.
Gotcha.
It was.
I think you should have quit after Boiler Room.
You should watch the most recent Triple X.
Emil,
he does have an adorable face, though.
Yeah.
Well, you think he has an adorable face. I have to ask this. You've gotten to hear, I've asked Kevin about you. Now I'm going to ask you about Kevin. What are your first instincts about Kevin? Just having now talked with him and now talked a little shit about him.
I think he's kind of a weak person, but that's okay because he's from Kansas.
Kevin?
If I were anything from Kansas and I were weak, I would be in denial about it and pretty advocate about my Second Amendment rights. I train jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
I'm ready. I don't need guns. I've got hard-working biceps.
Wow. The dumbest.
I've got hard-working biceps. Please, no one let that be said at my funeral.
Shut up.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot that's out there. Go on.
Let's go to our next fight. It's a featherweight match as well. Emil, you're going to lead us off on this. It's Charles Rosa versus Shane Burgos. Go.
I don't know who either of these people are. I'm going to go ahead and go with Shane Burgos because Charles Rosa sounds like a woman's name.
Okay. All right. He's taking the sounds like a woman angle. Kevin, what do you have for us?
First of all, he's also taking the more feminine tattoos candidate. And I'll be taking Charlie's nickname Boston Strong Rosa because I'm going with the 11-2 abs and the broad face.
Is he really Boston Strong?
That is his nickname. It's Boston Strong, Charles Rosa.
No. Ugh.
I agree.
No,
Shane the Hurricane Burgos.
Shane the Hurricane? Jesus. These are terrible nicknames. Emil, do you have a nickname?
No.
Okay, because normally they're not supposed to be endearing. They're supposed to be given to you by your training partners. And I'm just surprised that your training partners have gone this far without giving you some kind of grief like that.
Well, if you were one of my training partners, you'd know why.
Oh, God. What the fuck? Do you kidnap them? Like, what the shit does that mean?
I didn't quite follow the
Sounds like you have them in your basement there. And I was just like, I don't know what that means. But all right, Riddler.
Sounded more
good
sexual and weird than it did. But
Well, I mean, on that note, let's go to our next fight. It is a lightweight bout between Will Brooks versus Charles Oliveira. Kevin, what do you got for us?
I'm trying to remember if Oliveira has fucked me recently. I don't think he has. But I'm still going to take this. I'm going Will Brooks. I feel like I've been down the Oliveira chain, and I want to go for an underdog. 18-2, W. Bree.
All right, shut up. All right, let's go on over to Emil. What do you got for us?
Well, Charles Oliveira is Brazilian versus an American MMA. Generally, the Brazilian tends to win. I hate to say
That's
it, but
racist.
it's true.
I don't like his.
Oh,
Maybe a little bit.
okay. Hold on, Kev. Big question to you, though, Kev. Why does Emil hate America?
Ohio. I get it. They voted against it in the most recent election. They seem to be pretty uppity about America. I understand.
Jesus. All right. Emil, any response to that?
To be entirely fair, if I were from Kansas, I would love America too.
Wait.
Can't underline how much I don't live there now. I just
Yeah, no,
I happen to love America, which was why I voted Libertarian. Just to be clear.
There you go, Raph.
I was not part of the Trumpelstiltskin decision.
You're part
yeah,
of
it is pretty fun to watch Emil's posts, because the nice part about a libertarian is that they'll literally just be like, yeah, you're right, fuck this guy. Oh, yeah, you're right, fuck this guy. All right, cool. I'm going to stay over here and just watch you guys hate each other.
Who are you for? Some gas bag with a joint over there that doesn't know what the Department of Education does? Oh, well, fuck you then. It's usually how the rest of us.
Well, do you know what the Department of Education does?
Yes, I do.
I sure don't.
I used to work for them a little bit.
Yeah.
They make sure states like Alabama can't teach that slavery was an industry. They can't call it a war of northern aggression. That's what the Department of Education used to do.
Slavery, contract killing, the crimes against humanity, they're technically industries.
And we're going to sweep them all out of the textbooks.
What's that, Raph? You want to go on before we continue this discussion? Me too. Okay, let's go to our flyweight bout between Janelle Lawusa, or whatever, and Magomed Bativalov. And Emil, you're going to start us off on this one.
Magomed what? Yes.
Magomed Bativalov.
It's Philippines versus
Bulatov.
Russia.
Bulatov. I'm going with Magomed Bulatov, because let's be honest, if he grew up with a name like that, he's probably awesome.
Okay, good enough. Kevin, do you confer or do you say no?
Well, I would point out again to our Ohio friend who's obviously up on culture. Magomed is Russian, so a lot of the people probably had a name like he did. I'm going with Janelle Losa, and for one simple reason, Raph, you know what his nickname is?
What?
Question to you two. What's the greatest Sly Stallone movie ever?
Tango and Cash.
Man.
Okay, thank you. One of you is sober. It's The Demolition Man, starring he and Wesley Snipes, which is
Over the Top.
Janelle's. Oh God, the really boring movie about a trucker. I think
Judge Dredd.
The Demolition Man. Clear.
Nightcrawler.
That was Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, Nightwing. No, it's a different one. No, he's in one called Nightwing. I know there's another one. I was like, he had one that was like a comic book name that it wasn't a comic book.
Yeah, just so you know, I just did a quick little bit of looking. Magomed Bulatov is 13-0, and Janelle is 7-2.
Yeah, I'm taking it purely. I can't not pick The Demolition Man. That's sorry. This is bigger than all of us.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, let's say this. You don't allow anything, Emil. This is my fucking moderator job. Let's get to our next one. It is a light heavyweight bout between Patrick Humans and Jan Blachowicz. Kevin, you start us off on this.
I'm taking Brockovich because Patrick orgasms in his little slight way he got into the UFC. I'm less impressed every time he goes out. I'm taking Jan because anyone with like a Polish upbringing, tougher. Just tougher.
All right. Emil, what do you got?
You know, I'm kind of on a toss-up on this one. I'm going to say Cummins just because of the fact that his last name's Cummins, and that's kind of funny to me.
Durkin is his nickname. His teammates were definitely present during his nickname. It's Patrick
100%.
Durkin Cummins. Is that just his middle name? No, it's his nickname. It's like, okay.
All right, we're going to our next bout. It is a welterweight fight between Kamaru Usman and Sean Strickland. Emil.
I'm going to go with Kamaru Usman just because of the fact that his name is Kamaru Usman.
Okay.
And let's be honest, that's a pretty friggin' awesome name. And his nickname is Nigerian Nightmare.
Oof. Yeah, that does sound a little bit more intimidating. Although I do love the fact that, like, I have to say this, Kevin, if we're being honest, you can't talk shit on this, but Emil's picked up the really big, important aspect of this game, which is, I don't know this guy, but his name's awesome.
Yeah.
Which is a big favorite
early.
way of picking on this show, if we're being honest. So, having said that, Kevin, who are you picking on this one? 15, go.
You know, I struggle with this. Obviously, Nigerian Nightmare has a really awesomely terrifying background. There's also quite a few decisions because this is the made of rubber category. But I'm going to go ahead and double down Sean Strickland.
Okay.
Tarzan. This is one of my fight of the night picks.
Oh!
Thank you, Emil. He's an accomplished actor too, people. Mills is not just a great grappler
they
and
know.
writer.
They obviously, I'm sure.
They obviously could hear it. I'm going to put 30 seconds. No, not 30. I'll put this one as 23 seconds on the clock for this middleweight contention fight. It is Chris Weidman versus Gegard Mousasi. And we're going to start with Kevin.
I don't know how Chris Weidman got whiter, but he did somehow. I'm going to take Mousasi, and here's why. Fuck Gary Tonin. Fuck the whole East Coast. It's the time of Mousasi. I left that place too, and I'm doing some pretty declarative lines. I just haven't liked the way Weidman's looked.
Okay. That's fine. That happens. Let's go to our next one. And Emil, I'm going to go ahead and put 15 on the clock. Who do you got in this fight?
Well, Weidman, of course. I mean, you can't bet against America, Kevin.
He's also learned a valuable lesson too, which is where it does not matter how you pick thus far with what you say. I like it early. Yeah, Emil's a formidable opponent.
Is he? Do you feel the same way, Emil?
That I'm formidable?
Oh, that Kevin's formidable.
Should we explain what formidable
Kevin's
means?
formidable.
It's Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Formidable.
Kevin formidable? I mean...
I'm definitely not spelling
Yes. Maybe.
Emil, what would be your strategy of taking on Kevin just based on his words if this were a grappling match? Just the way he sounds. What does he sound?
His words? I would employ the age-old strategy of assuming north-south on him and just farting repeatedly.
Interesting. You really bring out that Ohio wit.
And what are we going to do when I get an erection halfway through the match, Emil? How are we going to deal with that?
I have no idea.
Wow.
Keep up with your strategy, buddy.
Let's do this. We're going to our next fight. It is Thiago Alves versus Patrick Cote. Emil, you go first.
I'm going to have to go with Alves because Cote is French.
Ooh.
Canadian.
Okay.
French Canadian.
How old is Thiago?
It's a good question.
He's 33. I'm going, you know what? I'm going to err on the side of the beast with this one. I'm also taking Thiago Alves on a pure age discrimination situation.
That's fair. We allow that in America right now. That's great. Let's go to our next one. It's a women's bantamweight fight between Caitlin Chukagian and Irene Aldana. Yeah, thank you. I love that one too. I actually, when I saw that one, I was like, I know exactly how I want to read that one. Kev, what do you got for us?
Okay, I want to talk to the whole team that helped nickname Caitlin. It's just blonde fighter. And nice job, guys. What did you point at her? It was like blonde fighter. Done. I will be taking the blonde fighter as one myself.
Fair enough. Well,
don't buzz that.
I'll buzz whatever the fuck I want. It's my show. All right, let's go to the next one with Emil. Who do you pick on this one, Caitlin or Irene? 15 for you.
I'm gonna have to agree with Kevin on this one for once.
Because
I think simply put that Irene is just not a good pick for this.
Okay, that's fair. Do you feel like terrible having come to the same conclusion as Kevin has made here?
I do. I feel ashamed of myself. I feel ashamed of my jiu-jitsu, and I feel ashamed of MMA for having put me in this position.
Me too.
Fair enough. Yeah. We often say that ourselves. Kevin, I got another fight for you in a second, but I'm going to let Emil say this one first. It's a lightweight bout between Josh Emmett and Desmond Green. Emil, you go first.
I'm going to go with Desmond Green. That's a pretty badass sounding name.
Okay. Kev, what do you got for us?
Yes. Sadly, Desmond Green is not pictured. So it's really difficult when you can't see someone's abs, obviously. And he is from Rochester, New York. I'm going to go for pure tattoo's sake the other way. Give me Josh Emmett.
Okay. Fair enough.
He has a very
all right, it's about
let's be honest, though.
Serious tattoo.
If you grew up in Rochester, New York, you know how to fight.
100%. Both the weather and for groceries.
And people in general.
Yeah.
It's Rochester, New York. Plus, Rochester's like an hour from Buffalo.
That
Important fact to know.
That's
You
just
guys be able to
free.
sleep in his bed that night.
Yeah. If you want to leave a 5-star reviews for some of our more innate geography lessons, you can, and give Emil the credit.
That's perfectly fine by us if you give us 5 stars and say, "Hey, Emil, I learned a lot about geography that day. Thanks, guys."
But with the internet,
Guys,
they'd be like,
it's geometry, okay? It's geometry.
they'd 100% be like, it's actually an hour and 15 minutes. 4 stars.
Especially once they get down to it, they're just like, I haven't learned this much about geometry. Which one is this
Theology.
one?
Geometry.
Theology. It's geometry, def for sure, since the Animaniacs, guys. So there is that. All right, let's look at this. Before we go to this next fight, it is important, and let's be serious here for a second, because we're dicking around, and that's important to do as well. But Kev, we do bets on this, do we not?
Yeah.
Now, we know that, obviously, Emil, you're a jiu-jitsu writer, so we know that you don't make any money. So we don't bet money.
This is more personal.
What are some of the bets that we've done in the past, Kevin?
Well, TP Grant, whom is a writer and a very fervent tweeter during the fights for the 211 Dallas card, has to change his Twitter handle to TP Can't for the entire thing. I still feel really good about that one. I'm going to take a lot of screenshots. I have had to, most recently do 100 burpees and videotape it for a Canadian. That was tough. Mostly physically and just the work. There's been there has been some Facebook social media posts. I had to write a letter about Tom Brady that I'm only halfway through. So there you go.
So those are the type of bets that we do here. Emil, do you have one in mind? Don't say what it is if you do, but do you have a bet maybe in mind that you would like to wager with Kevin?
Of course.
Oh, Jesus, that was too easy. All right, we'll save that. Once we get done with the picks, we're going to bring up what it is. But right now, we're going to get back to work here on a women's strawweight match between Cynthia Salvillo and Pearl Gonzalez. Kev?
Always tough to go against anyone named Pearl, so I won't do it. I assume that's her prison name by birth. I go with Pearl Gonzalez.
I hope she has a sister named Diamond. Let's go to this next one, though, for Emil. Emil, what do you got for us?
To me, Pearl sounds like a 90-year-old woman from Garden City, Long Island. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Easy pick, Cynthia Calvillo.
Okay, Cynthia, it is the pick there. Let's do this. The next fight is a lightweight bout between Gregor Gillespie and Andrew Holbrook. What do you got for us, Emil?
I'm going to go with Holbrook because Gillespie sounds like a gynecologist or something.
If you're asking me, Gillespie sounds like he's supposed to be playing jazz instead of fighting somewhere. But that's just what I know. Kev, what do you got for us?
I know Holbrook only has like a tiny forearm tattoo, but the gift Gillespie has a whole rooster thing going on. I'm joining you guys. I'm gonna go with Holbrook. I don't like the way Gillespie's. He's got a cross on his arm. I'm not interested, Ref.
Interesting.
Which way is the cross facing? Is it facing the wrong way?
No,
it's always best.
It's facing the right way. It's facing Christ's way.
It's facing Christ's way. It's the only way to do it. All right, we're at the final match of the evening. I'm going to go ahead and put 30 seconds on the clock, and I need to say this before I go any further. Don't either of you
about this fight
curse. No, you don't need to say that. Don't either of you curse this fight from happening. Okay. I am saying that to you now because the last time, I believe it was Daniel Cormier who came down with a case of Thanksgiving, a.k.a. back injury.
Yep. Yeah, you got Thanksgiving, and it just bled into Christmas is the diagnosis.
Yep. And then we had to call this thing off, and then we were wondering if it was going to happen, so let's land this plane home. I'm going to go ahead and put 30 seconds on the clock for Kevin to tell us who and why.
Couldn't be taking Anthony Rumble.
Daniel Cormier, hold on, and Anthony Rumble Johnson. I didn't say the names. And go.
You and I were right there. That's what happens when you work together and develop a friendship. Anthony Rumble Johnson is my choice. I even feel like DC has spent the last 3 or 4 fights wishing he had fought somebody a few fights ago. Anthony Johnson's another one of those people where it's like, I'm glad you beat him when you did, because he looks like he's going to murder the next person he fights. This is easy for me.
Okay. Emil, what do you got for us? 30 seconds on the clock for you.
I think DC does it again. I think that no one has stopped DC up until now. I don't think it's going to start with Anthony Johnson. I think Johnson's going to come out swinging. And like Kevin, he's going to fizzle out, and it's going to be pathetic and hilarious.
Thank you for the comment about it being hilarious, though. That's
Hold on.
usually what I'm
yeah,
going
that's really
for.
the most important thing. We always say if we're going to die, you better telecast it and better get a good rating.
Yeah.
Just a little tip here. When talking shit and saying that you hope someone fizzles out, it's best to do the delivery where your own delivery doesn't fizzle out by the end of the joke.
Well, I mean, the honest to God truth is that I was just trying to give you the kind of joke that you deserve.
Well, Raph, you also confused him by saying little tip. He's used to those words, just in very different contexts before the preface.
I mean, grower, not shower.
Yeah, okay, good to know. I was like, and the best part is, I was like, there's no way he gets to come back from this where he's just like, well, actually, is like, no, but we're done here. We're good. Well, guys, before we close up shop and get to the bet, I do want to bring up, we usually have tiebreakers, and the tiebreakers are the fight of the night and the performances of the night. They used to be submission knockout of the night. That's not the case anymore. So that we say pick 2 performances of the night by individuals, and then who you think the fight of the night will be. Kevin, I'm going to have you lead off on that.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly declare Rumble as a performance of the night.
Okay.
I'm going to follow up with a very solid Musasi. And then I'm coming all the way back to our early Usman Strickland as my fight of the night.
Wow. Well, if you pick that, I think you would be the only person to have seen that coming, Kevin. So
people are gripping the steering
this.
wheel. They are white knuckling it. No one knows where this is headed.
Don't say white knuckling it. All right, Emil, what do you got for us?
I think Will Brooks versus Charles Oliveira is going to be a barn burner. I think that DC versus Anthony Johnson is going to be very entertaining and will likely get a performance of the night. And then for fight of the night,
Hold on.
with,
I'm confused here because you just named 2 fights as opposed to fighters on those. So who would be the fighter in those?
Performance of the night's not for both fight of the night. I'm sorry.
They can be, but it is a strategy I would not recommend. They usually give it to one person from the fight.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to go with DC.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira, using my picks for winners in those 2 fights. And then for fight of the night, I'm going to go ahead and go with Pearl versus Cynthia.
Pearl versus Cynthia. You're really betting on that old Long Islander over there that you were talking about earlier.
I think that she's going to give her to business. I think there's going to be
wow.
She's going to go talk to her mother.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, listen here.
Her hair curlers.
You've really seen that joke through in your head. You're like, Raph, oh, she lives a good life too. She has 3 grandchildren. She really gets around. She loves her grandkids. Don't get her wrong.
Exactly.
Emil, you were so confident on what the bet was. Kev, are you nervous about what he's about to suggest here?
Yes.
Okay. There was a lot of confidence to that, but I'm intrigued to hear what it is. So we always defer the guests to go ahead and lead off. What is your suggestion for the bet here, Emil?
I think that the individual who loses the bet should have to find a pair of the most ridiculous-looking grappling stats they can get their hands on and should film a rolling session with their instructor.
I accept. That's fucking spectacular.
Hold on. Time out on here, though, Kevin.
I want to
Time out.
find these spats.
No. Kev.
Oh, I'll probably win. That's right.
No. I have some insider information here, okay?
That he already has a pretty bizarre spats collection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I may have to do a point of order here because define crazy looking grappling spats. And you may find one Emil Fischer at the top of that definition.
Which, Raph, if I may, because he seems like he kind of likes a challenge, doesn't that potentially mean he'll elevate his game even crazier?
I honestly, Emil, true or false, have you rolled with donuts as part of your spats?
If I could find such a thing. However, my sponsor, Pony Club Grappling Gear, does not have anything yet with donuts on it.
I swear to God, I have seen you wear unicorns. I have seen you wear multicolor, light bright nonsense. Like you were a walking billboard for a child to go nuts with a paint set. So, Kevin, having known that knowledge, does that still appease to you, or would you like to amend it in some way?
So, allow me to amend it in some way. I feel like I'm willing to divest some podcast funds into a potential Amazon purchase. So, I'll send him his.
Ooh, that's good.
Sold.
Boom. These are just. I'm in the women's section, obviously. I'll go plus size, but
I'm looking.
You better. I'm actually a fuller figured seller.
Well,
the way I'm looking at this is
we're about the same size.
Did Emil just come on the show to get a potential free rash guard that we would think looks terrible, but he's like, oh, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Am I right?
Maybe.
Wow.
You never know.
We think, we said that.
Well, Kevin, when you say diversity podcast funds, we'll have to have a serious audit on it.
Rav's like, no one agreed to that.
So angry about that, but all right, we'll get it because I know the kid will A, use them, and B, definitely social media the shit out of it, and vice versa. Emil, I'm actually more interested to see what you would pick for Kevin.
Oh God,
because
my instructor will murder me if I wear asshole tights on the way in. It's just he won't.
Well, I get to pick. Oh boy.
Oh wow. I'm just saying it should be reciprocal in that way. So you would have to.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair enough.
All right. Interestingly done here. All right. Well, let's do this. Emil, it's been fascinating talking with you. What we always do is invite our guest who comes on the week previewing it to return after the fights. So would you be up for coming back on the show after the fights are next week?
Of course.
Absolutely. So go ahead and take a look at those guys. Just to let you know, you can find Emil Fischer, Jiu-Jitsu Times, Jiu-Jitsu Magazine. He's basically writing articles all over the place. Look him up. It's pretty easy to do. You can also find all of his highlight reels and all of his stuff on his social media, which is where, Emil?
Emil Fischer, BJJ. That's EMILFISCHER, BJJ.
Really stretched yourself there. But, the important thing is you always are so active and so engaging and funny. We appreciate you coming on the show. Can we get any last plugs for you before you get on out? Any sponsors you want to shout out?
Well, yes, of course. I'd like to shout out to my sponsors, Gladiator Soap, Impact Mouth Guards, Valor Fightwear USA, Pony Club Grappling Gear, and the original Amy Joy Donuts, as well as my teammates from Strong Style MMA in Cleveland, Ohio.
I was about to say, it's always nice when you can kind of trace both the jiu-jitsu lineage and the crazy apparel lineage. And when I see you with Sean, I just look and go, well, that makes sense.
Oh, Sean is a dear, dear friend of mine. Have you ever trained with him?
I've never had the honor of training with him, but
it's one of the most
accounts,
painful and baffling experiences I've ever had.
I will say this. I'm always weary of the people who whenever we do our pro wrestling moves, if they like the moves too much that seem like they're both legitimate and cause a high amount of pain, and they consistently like those moves, I always wonder, you know better. You do that to people, don't you, Sean?
Yeah.
Sean is a huge fan of those videos.
Sean's policy in life is always do damage, at least when he rolls, and it just every time I roll with him, it's a very physically painful experience.
Well, give him our best and remind him that if he ever makes his way out to train with me, I don't know how to do jiu-jitsu. I forgot. I had a weird concussion. I don't actually train anymore.
Neither does he. He's more of a catch wrestler and a shingy.
Yeah.
So, whereas jiu-jitsu is all about like flowing and the gentle art. He's more like, I'm going to take my elbow, I'm going to put it right here. You feel that? Yeah, that's your bones breaking.
I mean, let's put it this way: the minute he does that, I'm grabbing every foreign object near me, because catch wrestling is essentially pro wrestling to me. So that's where I start to come in, and I'm tagging out to people, and that's exactly what's happening. But no, Sean is good people, and I want to go ahead and send a big shout out to him as well. He's a fan and friend of the podcast, so we are very happy. Very happy that you get to train with him, and you're lucky enough to train with him. So, all right, Emil, well, we're going to get you on out of here for this week. Thank you so much for stopping in. We look forward to catching up with you next week to find out how these picks went.
Thank you for having me on.
Raph, I think I'm about to move this train into just a straight East Coast to West Coast winning direction. That's what it feels like. It feels like I just needed a little change of locale. I'm 500 at worst, best. Who remembers the numbers? Feeling strong this week. Feeling strong whenever the last UFC was. I'm ready. And I'm not excited about the fights. I want to reiterate that.
That's really not an important note here, but yeah, I guess the general consensus is there a fight this weekend?
It is fun when I throw out the reiterating my notes and you're like, you didn't need to say it once, let alone underline it. So yeah, there has been a shocking lack of remembrance that first of all, March Madness is concluding, and I think that would be news to a lot of people tonight, let alone that the UFC 210 is back in action. We're just going to swing through. It's going to be the year of, is there a UFC fight this week? Because there is. And 210's next.
So 210 is upon us. So
fast.
Get excited for that. Thanks to Emil for stopping by. That was a lot of fun.
And thanks to The Undertaker for fucking 27 years of glory.
27 years, guys.
27.
If you want to hit me up with your favorite Undertaker moment, just hit me. Just hit me up on social media. Let me know. Because I think we're going to be getting through it together, guys. Because here's what's going to happen. We need to mentally prepare ourselves for next year when it is WrestleMania time and there's no Undertaker. So let's get it out of our system now.
Hey, can I ask a question? And maybe this is blasphemy. I can't turn on Hollywood anything without seeing my 47th remake, right? They're trying to make Training Day a show. Got
Sure,
Lethal Weapon, whatever. There's like 17 movies, and they were like, oh, we need to make this a weekly thing without Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. So is there any, this is crazy, obviously, but we're not going to see like a 22-year-old version who's like 6'8", and he's called like, what's another name for people? Mortuary Man? We need to work on the name.
Sure. Well, they already have Kane, and Kane is the brother of the Undertaker.
He's also like
so
98. Yeah, Kane was born.
But you're asking, are they going to do like a X-23, like a new Wolverine, younger Wolverine kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Or are they going to just recast the Undertaker? I don't know, because I'll let you know this, Kev, and I really didn't talk about this. They left the hat and the trench coat, real talk, in that ring as they were dismantling it. Like they couldn't bring themselves to take it out.
Well, that's again a lot of layers. This is like going to be a beautiful documentary cut. I'm going to see on 30 for 30 in 5 years. Like, I called that. We said
when people are quietly saying they were crying, it wasn't a full grown like, oh my God, but it was definitely a lot of people looking up and respectfully not fucking with each other and saying like, yo, this is a sad moment. Let's all take it in together.
It obviously wasn't as traumatic as something like him losing. That would break people.
Hey, the first time, and let's put this out there. Brock Lesnar actually softened the blow because if Roman Reigns had done the impossible of breaking the streak when it was still a streak, and then The Undertaker retired, which I think most people would have been cool, but just not Roman Reigns, I think it would have destroyed his career potentially. Like, people would have never forgiven him.
Isn't Roman Reigns also like next in line to take over? I mean, he already took over his look, right? He's not as big as him, but that's the look.
Well, the fact that you're speaking very confidently about how Roman Reigns looks means that you're A, Googling it, and B, trying to have a real conversation of like, well, Ref, let's just talk
I'm ready
about
to
looks
recast The Undertaker. I'm just trying to get your childhood back. That's all I'm trying to do here. There's a lot of people that are still crying about the loss. I'm in. I'm going to try.
Interesting. We'll see. We'll see, Kevin. I make no promises, but
I
feel
Hawaiian
good right
guy
now.
from Lost doing. Here's what we know. It's been a fantastic week. We gave a bonus episode where we talked to one Rafael Virginia about his MMA transition, still being a grappler, which is one of our favorite things about him. We love that he's. I said that at class today. I was like, I'm so glad we haven't lost Lovato. Like, it's nice because we were talking about Uriah Faber facing one of the Meows, and it was like, this is gonna be fun. We lost Faber, who's probably like someone that could have grappled, but just didn't give a shit to do both. Now he's grappling. It's amazing. It's great when they can do both. Check that episode out. You can find anything else we're doing. You can find us on Instagram. You can find all these hilarious wrestling videos we're talking about on Facebook. You can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It just helps people find us. You can convince a cousin that probably listens to podcasts. Offered to give a 5-star review to one of their favorites. And don't scoff when they say it's a soap opera one. You know, whatever's weird, right? Enjoy you. That's going to do it for us tonight here at Verbal Tap. We're going to move into some shout-outs. I'll start. Jubera's back with a vengeance after visiting some OKC. We also got to get another, some good Gavin lessons in. Another one of our instructors, Coach Keith, is back, Raph. The guy who improved the shit out of my arm triangle game and Darce game.
Nice.
And he does some of the more impressive ones. I do not. I'm a pretty strict arm triangler. He will throw on some different variations with his legs. Fun to have the crew fighting back big class at Jubera this last week. Trained out in KC BJJ last week. Don't know if I gave those savages the shout out they don't deserve, but got the holy shit beat out of me at 11 o'clock gi class. Got to fight one Mr. Bircher, and tons of fun, Raph. It's always nice to have like a gym you can go to much like you and I will meet every 6 months to a year to get this figured out. It's nice to have a place I can go train at in the Midwest. Sort of just reminds me where I'm at. It gives me some indications. And that's going to do it for me.
That's amazing. I want to go ahead and start by shouting out our good friend Kenny Jewell, who put together a to gi or not to gi event over the weekend. That was fantastic. Had a lot of fun. Covering that, you may see some interviews with me and many of the kids who were there. It was all purple belt, 16-man tournament in one section, and then in another section you had black belts, basically getting the chance to do a round robin. So you had some names like Steven Martinez, Dom Hoskins, Jeff Real, and Yago Espinola. So on the other side, I mean, we got to check in with our good friend Chelsea Leah, who is awesome and is moving to the UK, unfortunately, with her fiance, the mighty Tom Barlow, who we love. So, but she was telling me, she's like, I'll be back. And I'm like, I know, but we like you. And it sucks when we don't see you. So good catching up with her. A bunch of other people. Look out for that. It is Kenny Jewell getting run into a whole bunch of people. So saying hello to our good friend Octavio, who did some work out that way. Also saying hello to Brian Lopez and Sean Magami and Megan Parchuto. So a lot of good people to see. But I have to say a big acknowledgement to my sister, who was helping do photos with me. And we've got some awesome photos that we will get up the second we have the opportunity to. So look out for those coming up. That is to gi or not to gi. And it is the baddest brown format that we all loved, which is you flip the coin and you find out if you're going gi or no gi, which I am a huge proponent of. I think more gyms need to fucking do that, because I would 100% be in on it.
It's crazy too.
Oh, yeah, because you don't know what you're prepping for. And some of the guys that you look at, they may not tell you, Kev, but they have a preference. So you'll be like, hey, do you have a preference? We're like, no. And you look at them and you're like, you want the gi. I know you do. So that's that side. I also want to go ahead and shout out the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club
LAJJs.
and all the great stuff that we've got going on over that way. We're getting ready for ADCC for our good friend Eric Medina. We've got a lot of stuff coming. Again, I know I mentioned maybe some shirts, but I can't confirm or deny it. I may be in a photo with one very soon. I won't confirm or deny anything. So there's that. On the other side, I want to go ahead and shout out Valley Martial Arts Center. Very nice moment over the weekend. I got the opportunity on Friday to go ahead and teach my very first class, and they were stupid enough to let me do it, and I thought it was very nice that they did. So
How'd it go?
to everybody,
How'd it
it
go?
went very well.
What'd you
It went
teach?
fine, Kev. I taught passing, and a very particular style of passing that may or may not resemble Rafael Lovato Jr.'s, but
Badass.
probably doesn't. Anyway, it was nice. It was very cool of them to let me do that, and I was glad to fill in for our man Hassan, who was just out on, I think, vacation for a short time. So I was happy to do it, and yeah, it was very nice to be able to help the new kids out and show them some good stuff. One of the kids actually used the pass on me, and I was like, this is what teaching feels like. So it was very nice, and I just couldn't be happier that I got to do it. So there it is, and I think, my friend, in addition to that, and everybody who sent in the WWE BJJ stuff, and my good friend Chris Gagne, he came over to watch some really hilarious WrestleMania moments with me as well. I am done for today.
That will do it for us tonight. A verbal tap. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight.